Someone ignored the warning signs. Someone chose profit over people's lives. And now a little boy is fighting for every breath. But as panic spreads through Weatherfield, one terrifying discovery changes everything. Because this may not have been an unavoidable accident at all. It may have been prevented. And if that's true, someone is about to pay a devastating price. Welcome back to Coronation Street Update. Tonight's story isn't just about mold creeping across the walls of a neglected flat. It's about responsibility, guilt, anger, and a mother's desperate fight to save her son while uncovering the truth about how everything went so horribly wrong. Because sometimes the most dangerous villains aren't hiding in the shadows. Sometimes they're hiding behind paperwork, excuses, and a tenancy agreement. It all begins with a frightening race to the hospital. Alfie Webster has already been worried for days. Alfie hasn't been himself. His cough has become increasingly persistent, and every passing hour brings fresh concern. Like any mother, Alfie tells herself it's probably nothing serious. Children get coughs. They recover. Life moves on. But deep down she can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. Then everything changes. Alfie's breathing suddenly becomes worse. The situation spirals out of control. Within moments, Alfie is rushing him to A&E, terrified that every second could matter. For a parent, there are few moments more frightening than watching your child struggle to breathe. Questions flood your mind. Is he going to be okay? Have I missed something? Could I have prevented this? Those terrifying thoughts consume Alfie as doctors rush to assess her little boy. But while she waits for answers, another discovery is quietly unfolding elsewhere. A discovery that transforms a medical emergency into a shocking mystery. Carl Webster arrives carrying some of Alfie's belongings from home. At first, it seems like a simple act of kindness. Just bringing a favorite teddy. Some clothes. Anything that might comfort a frightened child lying in a hospital bed. But then Carl notices something that immediately sends chills down his spine. Hidden beneath Alfie's bed. Mold. Dark. Fretting. Silent. And potentially deadly. Suddenly every piece of the puzzle begins falling into place. The persistent cough. The unpleasant smell inside the flat. The damp that kept getting worse. It wasn't just an inconvenience. It wasn't just cosmetic damage. It may have been poisoning the air Alfie was breathing every single night. Carl instantly believes they found the answer. The mold isn't simply part of the problem. It could be the reason Alfie is lying in hospital fighting for his health. And that's when everything takes a darker turn. Because this isn't simply bad luck anymore. This is about responsibility. Who allowed that flat to become so dangerous? Who ignored the warning signs? Who failed to act before it was too late? Alfie's thoughts immediately focus on one man. Her landlord. Idris Nazir. Viewers already know their relationship has been strained from the very beginning. Alfie repeatedly complained about the damp. She spoke about the smell. She pleaded for repairs. But every request seemed to disappear into silence. Every complaint was brushed aside. Every warning ignored. Now her worst nightmare has become reality. Just as emotions reach boiling point, Idris walks into the hospital. He probably expects another uncomfortable conversation. Instead, he walks directly into a mother's fury. Alfie explodes. Every ounce of fear. Every sleepless night. Every unanswered phone call. Every ignored complaint. It all erupts in one emotionally devastating confrontation. She accuses Idris of putting Alfie's life in danger. She believes he is directly responsible for what's happened. And in that moment, no apology could ever feel enough. Idris insists he had no idea the mold existed. His voice is filled with panic. Perhaps even genuine regret. But those words carry little comfort. Because from Alfie's perspective, ignorance changes nothing. Her son is still in hospital. Her family is still terrified. And someone still failed to keep them safe. But then another emotional explosion follows. Kevin Webster reaches breaking point. Normally calm and protective, Kevin can barely contain his rage. Watching Alfie suffer pushes him beyond his limits. His warning is chilling. If Alfie doesn't recover, he'll make sure Idris stops breathing. It's a statement born from raw emotion rather than careful thought. Yet it perfectly captures the overwhelming desperation of a family watching someone they love suffer. Fear can quickly become anger. Anger can become revenge. And revenge rarely ends well in Coronation Street. But before viewers decide Idris is unquestionably guilty, another possibility suddenly emerges. Could there be someone even more responsible? Leanne Battersby and Alia Nazir begin asking difficult questions. Questions nobody had considered before. What if Idris inherited the problem? What if the person who sold him the property already knew about the dangerous damp? What if crucial information was deliberately hidden? That single suggestion changes everything. Because suddenly the mystery grows much larger. Perhaps Idris isn't covering up neglect. Perhaps he's another victim. If that's true, then the real villain may still be hiding in plain sight. Someone may have knowingly passed on a dangerous property without revealing its condition. If that's the case, Alfie's suffering could be the result of a chain of dishonesty stretching back months, or even years. And that possibility opens an entirely new investigation. Who knew? Who stayed silent? Who placed profit ahead of people's safety? Those questions become impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, Abby faces another devastating reality. Her home is no longer safe. Every room reminds her of what happened. Every wall feels contaminated. Every corner now represents fear instead of security. She has no choice but to pack up everything she owns and move back in with Kevin. For many people, moving home is stressful. For Abby, it feels like admitting defeat. She's being forced out because the place meant to protect her family has become a danger to them instead. It's heartbreaking. But perhaps it's also the beginning of something bigger. Because losing her home only strengthens Abby's determination. She refuses to let Alfie's suffering become just another forgotten tragedy. He wants accountability. She wants answers. Most importantly, she wants justice. And then another person steps forward with an idea that could change everything. Sally Metcalf believes Abby shouldn't simply move on. She shouldn't simply accept what happened. Instead, Sally encourages her to speak with Adam Barlow. Legal action. Those two words suddenly change the direction of the story. This is no longer only an emotional battle. It could become a courtroom war. Evidence may be gathered. Responsibility examined. Documents scrutinized. Phone calls investigated. Inspection reports uncovered. If legal proceedings begin, every decision made about that flat could suddenly come under intense examination. And that's where the suspense becomes even greater. Because court cases rarely expose only one secret. They uncover many. Could there be inspection reports nobody has seen? Could previous tenants have complained about damp? Were warning letters ignored? Did somebody deliberately choose the cheaper option instead of proper repairs? Or is Idris genuinely telling the truth? Perhaps he never knew. Perhaps he trusted the wrong people. Perhaps he's standing exactly where Abby is, desperately searching for someone else to blame. That's what makes this storyline so emotionally gripping. There are no easy answers. Only frightened parents, conflicting accounts, pain, fear, and a child caught in the middle of it all. As viewers, it's impossible not to imagine ourselves in Abby's position. What would any parent do after discovering their child had been sleeping beside dangerous mold? Would forgiveness even be possible? Would apologies ever feel enough? Or would the need for justice consume everything? The emotional stakes couldn't be higher. Because while doctors continue treating Alfie, every adult around him is forced to confront uncomfortable truths. Neglect doesn't always happen through cruelty. Sometimes it happens through delay. Through carelessness. Through assuming someone else will deal with the problem tomorrow. But tomorrow can come too late. And Coronation Street is reminding viewers just how devastating those consequences can become. Yet despite all the accusations, one mystery still refuses to disappear. If Idris genuinely didn't know, who did? If someone concealed the damp before selling the property, how many other dangerous homes could exist? Could other families unknowingly be living with the same hidden threat? And if evidence finally emerges proving somebody deliberately covered up the mold, the scandal could become far bigger than anyone currently imagines. As the dust begins to settle, one thing becomes painfully clear. Abby isn't walking away. She's no longer just fighting for compensation. She's fighting for the truth. She's fighting for justice. And she's fighting to make sure no other child suffers the way Alfie has. But if one thing is becoming clear, this story is far from over. Because somewhere someone knows exactly how dangerous that flat really was. Someone knows when the damp first appeared. Someone knows why nothing was done. And when that final secret is finally exposed, it may destroy reputations, shatter relationships, and change Weatherfield forever. So what do you think? Is Idris truly responsible for Alfie's terrifying ordeal? Or is someone else hiding an even darker secret behind the walls of that flat? Let us know your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe to Coronation Street Update, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next shocking twist from the cobbles. Because in Weatherfield, the biggest danger is often the secret nobody wants to reveal.